Are you tired of websites that have been Frankenstein together?
Oh, my website is so slow and creaky.
Every time I use the search bar, it just returns Abby Normal over and over again.
Becky's sister company, the Concept Spot, holds the secret to life itself and can create new life from nothing. In fact, we've been giving life to highly functional websites for the last 25 years using premium parts we swear we didn't salvage from graveyards.
Ooh, check out that header image. Instead of going, my new website purrs.
Need a blog? The Concept Spot can do that. Want an online store? We can do that too.
We build our sites from the cellular level. No reused templates or discarded body parts here, so we can make your site do whatever you want and look however you want.
It's gorgeous! I can't even see the stitches.
We can also resurrect your dead website if rigor mortis has set in.
Oh, it's like a new man.
If you think Homespun Haints is frighteningly genius, you should see our websites. Let your favorite ghoulish gals, Becky and Diana, build you a monstrous website that will wreak havoc on the internet for years to come.
Visit theconceptspot.com for more information.
It's live! It's live! Past lives, spirit guides, and ghosts all play into Susan's unique brand of astrology. But she wasn't always a full-time professional astrologer. Once upon a time, she held down a corporate job and kept her gifts a secret from her coworkers. Today, however, she has fully embraced her calling. And as you can imagine, the dead keep giving her glimpses into the past, both for herself and for her clients. Her stories are wild, and you're going to get to hear them today on Homespun Haints. Hello, Hainted Loves. Welcome to Homespun Haints. I'm Becky.
Hey, I'm Diana.
Today on the show, we've got a special treat for you. We have Susan, who is an astrologer. So she is the fourth astrologer we've had on the show. We've talked to Christian Bradley West. We have spoken with Aurora. We have spoken with Brad.
Yes, 4 very different types of astrologers, really, but all kind of unified in that fact that they combine astrological observational science with their own intuitive abilities. And they're all pretty funny.
She is amazing. We loved talking to her. And Diana, you actually got a reading from her, right?
I did. And I'm actually going to share the video because she managed to take like this hour and 15-minute long video. I'm going to save the highlights and share it with our patrons on patreon.com/homespunhaints. So if you want to go see the behind the scenes and learn about what my fate was upon being born upon this planet under the stars of Leo.
I think where you're going, I'm just going to follow. You know, just wear really long coats so I can hold on to your coattails. And just like, whee! Through the air to wherever you land. It sounds fun. Right before we hit record, I was telling Diana about the latest weird thing that appeared in our house.
Yes, you've got tools.
These things, they appear because I have a geeky husband. And for those of you that follow us over on our business side of things with the Concept Spot, you know that I'm also an early adopter. So I'm like always getting the weird, cool gadgets right away before anybody else does. 3D printer shows up in the house. Husband puts 3D printer in basement. Basement is full of crap because D&D campaign happened there yesterday.
The children's, not yours.
Well, no, it's like a boys D&D club, so it's like
dads and kids, cute.
Yeah, it's really cute. It's dads and kids. Yeah.
Nice.
And basement was already trashed because my son's birthday party had taken place the night before. Luckily, I got a washable everything down there, so I can get the chocolate stains out of the rug and things like that.
I have a friend who advocates putting the rug in the bed of the pickup truck and then going through a car wash.
What a brilliant idea.
She says that's a really easy way to wash a rug. And also cheap.
You just need a pickup truck.
Well, actually, she was doing it in a sedan, but it's much harder to do in a sedan because you need 2 people, one to put the rug over the top and the other one to be in there because you can't get the door open when there's a rug over the top of the sedan. So I was actually modifying her technique for your family because you've got a pickup truck.
We do have a pickup truck, yes, which my husband can't drive right now because he's lugging 3D printer into the basement, trying to work his way around all the crap. Like, he set up card tables and folding chairs, and then other furniture is just like scooched against the wall, and it's a mess. And he stubs his toe into the couch. And I'm actually on my way out the door because I just got a call from the school, and they were like, your daughter vomited. And I was like, okay, well, she vomits all the time. And they're like, no, she can't stay here. We have rules. So I was like, oh, crap, I got to go get my kid.
Like cat, like daughter.
Kids vomit, okay? Like, she looks at something funny and she vomits. She stays in a car for more than 5 minutes. She vomits. She's just a vomitous child. I mean, that's...
Bilious child.
Bilious child. So I'm like, crap. All right, so I'm running out the door, and my husband's like, I think I hurt my toe. And I'm like, I've still got to go. And he's like, I think I broke it. And I'm like, ugh, okay. So I go over, and, you know, I'm like, what did you do? And he was like, I was walking. I'm like, God, you're getting old. So I walk over, and I look at his toes. So, you know, so imagine this is the big toe, second toe, middle toe. So these are the other toes, and this one's like, I'm sorry, I'm flipping you off. It's not intentional, but it was not going.
It's painful though.
It was not going in the right direction, and I said, that looks broken. And I was like, trying to move it. He's like, I can't. I'm like, broken. I'm like, great. All right. Well, I'm just gonna drop you off at urgent care so you can get X-rays, and then I'm gonna go get my kid. But I couldn't do that because then my husband goes into shock. So I'm like, oh, crap. You know, it's like, this is such a life of a mom, right? It's like, why is it people keep getting injured? Ah! He starts like getting dizzy, and he's like pouring sweat. He's like, so I'm like putting him in the car, and he's like, throw up. I'm like, not you too. Like, just the other day we were taking my son to his birthday dinner, and he threw up everywhere. And
your whole family's getting pretty bilious.
I know, right? Can you believe we travel a lot? Yeah. So we're like, we're driving down the road because he really wanted to go to Panera. That's his favorite place for his birthday. And he's like,
your son, right?
Yes,
not your
son.
husband.
Okay. Yeah,
no,
this is like a few days ago, right before the party. Yeah. So we're driving to Panera, and he's like, I'm going to get sick. And I was like, roll down the window. And just like a college kid, he's like, yeah! Like out the window.
Just like a college kid.
All over the streets of Roswell, Georgia. We pull in, and I'm like, all right. And it's like all over him. I'm like, let's go to the bathroom, bud, and wash you up. And like, let's go eat our Brit Bowls. You know, like nothing, no big deal. So I'm so used to dealing with this.
I have to interrupt and say you're a really good mom for raising kids that would not be like devastatedly embarrassed by this situation, that were just like, okie dokie, yeah, it's gonna be my party. Woohoo, no big deal. That's some next level confidence. Good job. Good job momming that.
So it comes from a lot of me just like, I can't deal with emotions, so you're gonna just power through this. Yeah, so anyway, I get my husband in the car, and the whole time I'm like trying to give him Lamaze breathing techniques. Don't throw up in my car. And I'm like, okay, we're breathing together. And I'm like breathing with him all the way to urgent care. And I get him in the door, and I'm like, I cannot just leave him here. Like, he couldn't even walk. Anyway, I'm actually on the hunt for a local Reiki healer in our neighborhood because we're going to Rome in less than a month.
So that toe needs all the good vibes it can vibe.
That toe better be healed. Because I am going with or without him. Screw the fact that it's our 20-year anniversary. But I do want to give a big shout out to Tiffany Parks of the Bittersweet Live podcast. She hosts that with Katie Sewell, who's actually a patron of ours. Tiffany has been so instrumental in helping us plan this trip. She is actually a tour guide. We're going to take one of her tours, and she set us up with some private tours throughout Rome, as well as giving us a lot of recommendations, like insider information.
That's so cool. So you're going to see the darker side of Rome.
Oh,
that's the important thing to mention right here, is that this is a spooky trip to Rome.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Not just a normal trip.
My family doesn't know that yet, but yes.
Oh, sorry. It's a secretly spooky trip to Rome. So it's interesting. You're going to be in the Vatican during Jubilee, during a new Pope election. Yeah.
Assuming like the conclave is over with by then.
If you guys were Catholic, this would be really like a big deal in your lives.
Right? None of this is happening if my husband's toe doesn't heal.
Right. So we need to all send good vibes
send good vibes to my husband because he is going to get stuck in the hotel room with his foot up while I go walk around in the catacombs.
You're going to call him when the kids puke and he has to come pick them up so you can continue infiltrating Catholic venues.
I'll just tell him to find a bush.
They have public fountains there. It's fine. You'll be able to clean them up no matter where.
Oh, good God. Do not throw up.
Oh, no, that's not what I was recommending. I just meant like it's easy to clean up because there's always fresh
I can clean them up.
No.
This is true. Yes. And the world's first sewer system was there. So I'm sure there's plenty of places they can throw up into.
Probably. But I can't wait. You're going to go see catacombs and
hell yeah.
All kinds of dark stuff. You're going to see the church where which Tiffany.
Yeah, she says she's going to take us there.
Okay, the one where they catch the bodies that wash up on the river.
On the Tiber, yes.
On the Tiber River.
Yeah, I'm very
looking forward to that. Please call me from there. I'm looking forward to that.
All right. Yeah.
Surely they have Wi-Fi. All good churches have Wi-Fi, right?
Wi-Fi, it's in the Bible, right? Like it's the 11th commandment. Thou shalt have good Wi-Fi.
It's enshrined.
And those of you that are part of our Patreon, I will be sharing little stories of the trip as I go. So you'll get some exclusive imagery, just like we did for our trip to Appalachia. But please send healing thoughts to my husband and his toe. I
used to sprain and or potentially hairline fracture my baby toes all the time because my feet are shaped like this. I've got monkey toes. They're prehensile. I can play the piano almost as well with my toes as with my hands, but that's just because I can't play piano. But I can like pick things up. One time I learned how to crochet with my toes. I can write with my toes a little bit. But what I wanted to say was I used to always hairline fracture my middle toe every time I walked through a dark room because I'd knock it onto some doorway or something until I got these shoes right here. And these shoes, you may not be able to tell how big they are on a flat screen, but they're larger than my head. They're huge and they've got cheekbones because it's like an evil jack-o'-lantern, right? They've got cheekbones there and there.
Where do you find said shoes?
I will put a link to them in the show notes for this episode. Should you want to obtain a pair of evil jack-o'-lantern shoes that keep you from breaking your toes so that you never do this to your spouse when she's hoping to have her first trip to Italy as an adult and you're breaking your toes and going, there's nothing I could have done.
Yeah.
Yes, there was.
Okay. That's a really good idea.
I don't think I've told you yet, Becky. The library here has a creative writing contest for adults every year. And this year I won.
Oh! You didn't tell me that.
Yeah. I got first place in the essay contest.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So now I'm going to have my story published on the library website and I get to go to a ceremony where I get to read it aloud. Now, you know me. The story is incredibly embarrassing. And it's all true. So unfortunately, yes, I get to read a very embarrassing story aloud and then have people reference it online for a year. This is what publication's like. Oh, well.
It's incredible, Diana. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's awesome. It's a cool accolade to put on your resume.
That's the first thing I did when I edited my CV that I haven't edited since 2019.
Well, Hainted Loves, thank you for listening to our rantings and ravings about contests and broken toes in Italy. If you are a patron, you can follow our adventures at patreon.com/Homespun Haints.
And if you're not a patron, we'll just continue to watch you quiver in anticipation.
Oh man, I had a rough day.
What happened, honey?
I was out with the guys and they said I wasn't spooky enough.
Oh, honey, how could they say that to you? You're hella spooky.
You think so?
Of course. After all, you came up with the ectoplasm being ghost jizz theory, and you've been scratched by more horny ghosts than anyone else I know.
Well, I suppose you're right.
But if you're really worried about it, I have just the thing.
Oh, wow! A Spooky AF t-shirt?
That's right. Our Spooky AF line comes in shirt, sweatshirt, pillow, and even a high-quality mug.
Man, those are super awesome, especially for something with profanity on it.
What's even better, all these items were hand-lettered exclusively from Homespun Haints by world-renowned calligrapher Nikki Malik.
Holy ghostly cannoli, that's amazing.
From now on, whenever you brandish your spooky AF gear, no one will accuse you of being boring.
Yeah, I'm spooky AF.
Visit homespunhaints.com for all spooky AF merchandise.
Today on the show, we are thrilled to bring on Susan Reynolds of Explore Astrology.
Hey, everybody.
Welcome, Susan. She is an astrologer, and she has been doing it for 40 years.
That's so cool.
I know, it's so cool. So, yeah, as you know, we'll include links to her information and her email address because I'm sure you guys are going to have lots of questions, and you're going to have an expert that you can reach out to after this show. Susan, thanks so much for being here with us.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Before we hit record, you were explaining that when you began reading these charts, you started actually delving into people's past lives with their charts and the exploration you did. And that's kind of one of the unique approaches that you take with your practice. Can you go back to the beginning and tell us what that was like and how that sort of occurred?
Well, I started out doing something that I still do today, even after 40 years. Before I ever do a reading with a client, I meditate on that chart. And so there was a woman who'd made an appointment. I'd never met her before. She was a brand new client. And I was sitting there meditating on this chart like I always do. And all of a sudden, I started to see a vision. Like, I didn't ask for this. I didn't even know this could happen, but boom, there we were. And I saw a vision of a woman who I knew was my client. And it was like the 1800s, 1700s. She was a woman. She lived in Ireland. She was married to a man who was a farmer. She had like 7 or 8 kids. I saw this woman trying to be a good mother, to be a good wife. Money was a little bit of a struggle, but she was teaching her children to get an education, and then I think she died somewhere in her 50s. And then the vision went. And I was shocked. I didn't know what to do with this. Remember, this was 40 years ago. This was not as accepted. And I was like, I can't tell this woman this. It may take all her courage to come for an astrology reading. And I'm going to talk about crazy past life stuff. What if she calls me a fraud? But then I thought, well, I got it for her. I should tell her. So I kept going back and forth. Should I, shouldn't I? Finally, I said, okay, I'm going to tell her. And I'll tell her right at the beginning of the reading. So that if she doesn't like it, she's upset with me, she could leave and that'll be it. Right. And this probably doesn't reflect well on me, but I'll tell you anyway. I was upset at getting this vision, but I was also upset at seeing such a boring past life. Like, if you had to show me a past life, could she not have been a pirate or a Civil War general or something with some pizzazz? A housewife and then you die? Like, who wants to hear that?
Oh, so that's probably 95% of our past lives, if you think about it.
And I was like, oh my God, I can't even tell her this boring life. My client comes in, she's a lovely woman in her 30s, very well dressed, very polite. We sit down, we start the reading, and I tell her about this vision. My client bursts into tears, and she says, oh my God, that explains my whole life.
Oh,
what?
That was my reaction. This explains your whole life? Turns out my client was a lawyer. She was born in a very loving Irish Catholic family in Boston, large family, 6 or 7 kids. And all the women, the girls in that family, they would grow up and get married and then have kids. They may get a job to help out the family, but she said she always knew from a young age that she didn't want to do that. She wanted a career. She went to college. She went to law school. She was a lawyer. She said she was aiming to make partner. And she said she always felt guilty that she wasn't being like all the other women in her family. She always felt guilty for not wanting to follow that path, for wanting to enter a career. And when I told her this, it was like I could see this woman getting lighter, getting brighter right in front of me. Like that burden of guilt had lifted. I don't even remember what the rest of the reading, all I remember is her reaction, that what I thought was boring and humdrum changed her life. Like literally in those moments, I could see her life changing. And it was a lesson to me, like, Susan, it's not up to you to decide what you're supposed to tell them. If you're seeing a vision, you just tell them and let go of it. That's your job. not the judge of this. And so after that, I would do the same thing with other clients, go into my time of prayer meditation before we sit down. And more often, I would start to see visions of past lives. And this is what you came into this lifetime to do. And so many times I would see that click. Oh, that's why I struggle with this. That's why this is this way. So usually when I do a reading now, I will start if I got a vision for them. Occasionally, but it's rare, I will go into my time of prayer meditation and my guides will come in and they'll go, no, you will get no information about this person's past life. And that's annoying for me, but it's incredibly frustrating for my client because most of my clients are word of mouth. And so their friend or their relative is telling them, this is what she told me. I'm like, I'm so sorry. I cannot tell you anything. But the vast majority of the time, like 95% of the time, I'm going to see something and I'm going to tell you. And I tell people all the time, believe it, don't believe it, toss it away, keep it, totally up to you. I've done my job. I've shared it. This is what I saw. This is what I'm sharing. The end. And then I'll get more into the chart, but I'll start to explain the chart from a spiritual standpoint, from the soul standpoint. This is why you brought in this Venus. This is why what it's trying to teach you. So my way may be a little different than most people's style, but that's okay. It's mine, and I've made peace with it over the years.
Susan, we've interviewed at least 2 other professional astrologers, and both of them have some practice that has to do with intuition, mediumship, or psychic ability, or predictions, or something that's above and beyond just, oh, I read charts. So I think that, I think that once you become a professional, something maybe either the people who are meant to be professional astrologers have some kind of gift naturally and it weaves itself in, or it maybe generates some kind of gift. I don't know.
I will say before I start the reading, I always take a moment of prayer to bless the reading, to call in their guides, to call in my guides. And when I do that, if any astrologer does that, you're opening that door and you don't know what's going to come through that door. I mean,
that's
certainly we're protected and we're going with the high vibration, but their guides sometimes start talking to me. My guides sometimes start talking to me. Sometimes I'll be telling my client something and my guides will sort of hit me in the back of the head like, Susan, this is for you too. Like, pay attention. So I have just learned to just go with it. I am often the most surprised person in the reading. And the first time a relative came in, I'm not a medium. I'm not I don't talk to the dead. And I was reading for this woman, lovely young woman, and I saw this man, older man, sort of come towards me. And he was very loud, very insistent. Tell her I love her. And I'm in my head going, no, go away, go away. I'm like trying to shoo. And I'm doing this in my head, talking to him. And so I'm still reading the chart. And so I'm still talking about her moon or what's going on here. And he's like, tell her I love you. And no, go away, go away. And again, this is my fault. I thought I love you was some sort of generic message. Like, oh, yeah, I'm a medium. They're happy. They're on the other side. They love you. I wanted a message like, the will is under the 3rd brick in the fireplace. Like, I wanted something specific. I wasn't getting that. I wasn't getting this. I love you. Like, no, we're not doing this. Go away. So I'm arguing with this man in my head while I'm reading for my client. And he won't go away. And finally, I'm so annoyed at him. I had a pencil in my hand. I just threw it down on the table. Oh, well, right. And my client's looking at me like, what did I do? Because she doesn't know I've been arguing with this man for the last 10 minutes. And I tell her, there is a man here. He's an older gentleman, and he is very insistent that I tell you I love you. He wants you to know I love you. And I still get a little choked up about this because tears started running down her face. I did not know this, but her father had died 3 weeks ago.
Oh.
And she was in another state at the time. And her family called her. He was in the hospital, so it was expected. But they said, come, it's time. He's fading. So she drives like a bat out of hell to get to the hospital. And he had died before she got there. And she said, I'd give anything to hear him say, I love you one more time.
Oh, wow.
I did not know any of that. So once again, I had to learn. It's not up to me. Sometimes I think my guys have taken up a special collection to work with me because I'm sure I'm in slow class or something. I'm sure I give them fits.
You say I'm not a medium, but how is that not mediumship in a way?
Right.
Well, I've had people come to me and say, I want to talk to Aunt Mary or my grandmother. Nothing happens. Like, I got nothing. I think a professional medium can call on the other side at will and be able to pick somebody up. I can't do that. Like, the other side is making the decision, not me.
Got it. Okay.
So I had to sort of say, sometimes this happens. And if it does, I will do my best to be the best interpreter. But you're also not getting somebody who's a professional in this area. And my clients are fine with that, but I'm always a little worried. I don't want to disappoint anybody or, I don't want them to be misled in any way about my work. I remember this older woman came to me, beautifully dressed. I think she was wearing a Chanel suit, very sort of like ladies who lunch kind of energy. She just looked beautifully put together. And this young man came in and was standing behind her. And I couldn't see him very clearly. Remember, not a professional. So I'm doing my best to who is that? What is that? And he was holding something in his hand. It looked like a tall spear. I was like, what is that? So I asked her, I said, does a man holding a spear mean anything to you? And she said, no. I said, okay. I just went right back to the reading. And then a little bit later, it was like the picture wasn't as fuzzy. It was like it was fine-tuned or something. And I said, oh, it's not a spear. It's a fishing rod. I said, do you know anybody with a fishing rod? And she said, oh, yes, my son was a bass fisherman before he died. So again, my skills are not necessarily where I would want them to be if I was doing that professionally. I just say I'm doing my best,
It's just a little extra perk that comes sometimes with the readings.
Right.
It's a good way to look at them.
The past life readings, do they come through the dead, through a form of mediumship that maybe you're not a pro at yet, but that happens to you passively? Or do they come through you somehow?
They come through me. They come to me and through me. Sometimes, occasionally, it's a good question you ask because I didn't think about this. Sometimes when I'm seeing a past life unfold in front of me, I'll realize immediately, oh, that woman's now her father in this lifetime. Like sometimes that connection will just be shown to me immediately. Okay. Most of the time not, but occasionally it's shown to me to understand this is why this situation is going on. And so sometimes it will happen like that. But most of the time, it's like watching a movie. It's, cue the MGM, like the fog and the vision and everything happening. And I just watch. I just kind of watch. But I'll also, it's hard to explain, I'll also be feeling these feelings. Like this happened and this is what you were feeling. And,
that makes sense.
And I watched a life unfold in front of me, a past life, where a woman was married, they had children, and a famine hit their nation or their country, wherever they were living. Her husband died, her children died. And this woman eventually passed after her husband and children. And what I remember is this woman's sense of guilt and failure. I failed my children. Like they died, like I couldn't keep my children on. This woman's heartbreak. And in this lifetime, she was scared to get pregnant. In this lifetime, she's afraid to be a mother.
Oh, wow.
She didn't know why. She said, nobody in my family died from childbirth. Like, I don't know why I'm so scared to have kids. Well, if you watched your children die, you might be a little hesitant. So she did nothing wrong as a mother. She was a good mother. But our feelings and what she was feeling at the time that she died, I'm a failure as a mother, I'm a terrible mother, was impacting her in this lifetime.
That is incredible.
That's so relevant. That's bizarre to me, because the reason I was asking that question is because I've had an Akashic Records reading, which is...
I've had them.
You're familiar with that. Okay. Yeah. But basically the one reading I had produced an extremely profound image of a past life that I had no takeaway from. It meant nothing to me. There was no value whatsoever. And the reader went over every single aspect that she was able to see. It had no relevance to my life, and I still to this day cannot place it as anything relevant to my current life. But
wow, that's incredibly frustrating.
Sometimes you're going to get messages that maybe aren't relevant yet, or would be relevant in a future life or something like that.
Sometimes we can see something and we misinterpret it in a certain way, and that may be what was going on. Or like you say, it may be relevant later on.
I don't know. It was a good friend of mine, so she knew me. It's not like she was just trying to connect with some random things.
I would start to maybe, if you work with your spirit guides at all, I would start to ask them to show you, what do I need to learn from this? Even if you get nothing. Let's say they was describing a life where you were sitting under a tree eating an apple, and you, what is the big deal about that? Start to maybe make it like a story. What can that mean? Was I a farmer growing apples? Was I hungry? Was I happy in that moment? Start to treat it like you're interpreting a dream and see if you can put things together. You might even get a dream book and look up apple or look up tree. Just because it may seem very simplistic or not seem to have any relevance, sometimes when we dig into it a little bit more, something starts to come.
That makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
I never thought to interpret it like a dream, but that's a really good idea.
And you would be good at that, Diana.
Of course.
You do a lot of dream
I do dream interpretation, so that's
that
is kind of something I would...
fun. Once you start to dig into it, what looks one way totally changes and looks a totally different way.
Poor Diana gets a text from me almost every day. Last night I dreamt about this. What does it mean? She's like, when are you going to learn to do this yourself?
That's okay. Helps me keep tabs on you.
I used to work years ago in corporate America, and my friends would call me up at work to tell me they had a dream. And I'd be like, not a good time, not a good time.
That'd be an interesting performance review. It must feel good to move from a life where you're, trying to do readings in between client calls in the corporate break room, and then now you do this full time?
Yeah, I started out in corporate America. Never thought I'd be a professional astrologer. Even when I took classes and started having clients, it was a hobby, nights and weekends. In astrology, I do my best to make it very practical to what's going on in your life today. And people would say, you need to go do this full time. And I go, look, I need a healthcare plan. I need some benefits. I'm not walking away from a job that pays me a good salary with a lot of benefits to look at this. So for many years, I just thought that would be it. I would do it nights and weekends. And then one day, my guides were like, no, today's the day.
Just like that.
Just like that. And I went to my boss and I said I was leaving, and I never went back. And I had no money. I had no plan. I had no nothing. I tell people all the time, don't ever leave your job the way I left mine. Don't do that. It is incredibly stressful.
So your guides meant like leave that day, don't give a month notice, don't try to get a severance package, like just...
I gave my notice that day, and I had reached, in the company I was working for, if your years of service plus your age added up to like the magic number, you could leave and retire with medical benefits. And so I wasn't even thinking about that, but my guides were.
Oh, so you had that. You were at that
point. And the minute I reached the magic number, they were like, okay, you're out of here.
Oh, really? Oh, that's awesome.
Okay. All right. I mean, you still had all of that. You built that for yourself at the company.
Yeah, I liked what I did. It wasn't exciting, but I was good at it. I was respected. If my guides had not decided otherwise, I might have stayed there a lot longer. But I was very invested in my astrology, even though it was part-time. I was doing a lot of night and part-time work, and I was in the break room, sort of having lunch with a colleague. And casually, I wasn't even thinking, said something about working that weekend. And he said, "Oh, I didn't know you had a part-time job." And immediately I'm like deer in the headlights. Oh my God. Oh my God. I cannot tell him what I do. I work for a very conservative company. And he could see my panic all over my face. And he said, "It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to tell me what you do." And I guess most people would have said, "No, I'll tell you." But I said, "Oh, thank you so much." And I got up to leave the break room. And then I kind of turned around and I looked at him and I said, "But my stage name is Cinnamon."
Nice. He's been Googling that for years and still can't find you.
I never did tell him what I really did.
That's phenomenal.
Welcome to my life.
You see images of the departed in your visions. Have you ever seen a ghost or a spirit or something like that outside of reading for a client?
Yes.
Oh.
Twice. Not a lot, but twice I've seen this. The first time was many years ago. I was an astrologer. I was still working in corporate America. And my sister and I were at a graveside. We were visiting a relative's grave and leaving some flowers there. And I looked up and I saw this young man like leaning on a big headstone. And I thought it was kind of disrespectful. Like, that's not a seat, It's like,
Mm-hmm.
And you don't usually see that. Like people are usually very respectful in a graveyard. Right. I'm kind of looking at him and I'm trying not to look because I don't want to be rude. And finally I'm talking to my sister. I'm like, "You see that man over there? Do you not think that's disrespectful?" And my sister says, "What man?"
Uh-oh.
And yeah, that was me. Uh-oh. And I look again and he's still there. And I realize I'm looking through him instead of at him. And I'm like, "Okay, we can go now." Like, I'm not sure I want to talk to him and he looks fine. And we're not walking in that direction. We're going to walk in this direction.
Whoa.
It was the first time I'd ever seen a ghost. I did later, not that day. I looked at the grave marker that he was sitting on, and it was a grave for a young man who had died in his 20s. And I figured that was him. The second time that I saw a ghost was much, much later. Grown woman, left corporate America, full-time astrologer. I don't know if either one of you have ever heard of Chip Coffey. He's a very well-known, especially in Atlanta, very well-known medium. And he had a show for a while about working with children who are mediums and seeing dead people. And I don't know if he still does this. Up until COVID, I know a few times a year, he would do an event at like a haunted place. And you would buy your ticket, maybe go to like a haunted mansion for the weekend. And you would have the weekend there and you would see ghosts. He would take you around to see ghosts. And so he was offering something in Tennessee, in Pigeon Forge, at the Titanic Museum that they have there. And a friend and I decided to buy tickets and to go. It was like you buy your ticket and there's a 3 or 4 course dinner in the evening when the museum is closed. And then they take you through the museum at night. And it just sounded like fun. That's my idea of fun, So we buy our tickets, we go to Pigeon Forge. And during the day, we decide to go through the museum. As a tourist, just to see the museum. It was very well done. If you're ever in Pigeon Forge, go to the Titanic Museum. It was really very well done. And you get a card with a picture and a name on it as you enter. And then at the end, you could see if you survived. Like, did your person survive? It was very well, nicely done. So we're looking through, and I'm looking at these exhibits in glass containers or whatever. And they had encouraged us for this event to dress in 1920s clothing, like really to get into it.
Fun.
I did my best, but I don't know that I was going to wear a bustle or whatever it is for anybody, so I had my limits. But I'm walking through the museum and there's a young boy there, maybe like 8 to 10, something like this. And he's dressed in like the 1920s style with a cap and like the knickers kind of thing. And we're kind of playing with each other, kind of teasing each other. And he's like, darting over here, and I'm going over there to sort of find him. And we're just having a good time with each other. And then he darts behind a woman that is looking at the exhibit that I take to be his mother. And I dart right behind him, and there's nobody there. And I realize, oh, that was a ghost.
Oh my goodness. So nobody else saw him?
No, because I asked my friend, and she's like, what boy? Like, she didn't see anything.
Oh my gosh.
The random woman you darted behind must have been a little alarmed.
I didn't even think about that, Jeff, so you're right.
I probably do that to people all the darn time.
This crazy woman was looking behind me. I didn't even think about that. But the dinner was lovely. And then they took us into this part of the museum, and the temperature drops to like the 20s or something like that. It drops to the temperature it was that night when the Titanic went down. So you're immediately cold. And they had little slats created where you could sit on like little benches that mimicked the rowboats that they had, where the survivors would sit in the rows on the rowboat. And I was sitting down, and then I scooted over to make room for the woman sitting next to me, and I realized I didn't see anybody, but I realized there was nobody sitting there. But like I could feel the brush of cloth or a dress or something next to me. So I knew there was somebody there, but we didn't communicate, and I was just like, oh, that's interesting. So somebody is here,
Okay, I know you don't know the answer to this, but if you were speculating, would you guess that these spirits were attached to items in the museum from the Titanic, or attached to the land somehow, or perhaps just attached to the idea, the concept of the Titanic and so many people thinking about it?
This is my impression, again, as a lay medium, not a professional medium. Yes. I got the impression they were attached to the objects.
Okay.
I definitely didn't sense any attachment to the land or anything about Tennessee that was important to them, but I did get an attachment to the objects. And even to some degree, an attachment to that experience. Mm-hmm. Like it was so overwhelming, so traumatic, that there was still definitely an imprint there. Because many of the things that they had there, they were original to the ship. They were not recreations.
I'm really surprised that those are the only incidents that you have to talk about, because those are really, really visceral.
I'll tell you something. I sort of opened up to being an astrologer and moving into the more spiritual, metaphysical world through my ARE study group. They are joined with ARE, the Association for Research and Enlightenment. And it's an organization that is in Virginia Beach. And it was created by Edgar Cayce, who is a very famous seer. You're both nodding. He lived in the 1890s to like 1940s, something like that. Mm-hmm. And the ARE is his organization. He has ARE study groups all over the country, all over the world. It's free to join. And I had joined one. And I knew nothing. I knew nothing about past lives. I knew nothing about any of this yet. But I was interested, which is why I asked to join. So they encouraged me and helped me. But one of the things that they were very surprised about is that I never wanted to talk about ghosts. I never wanted to talk about dead people. I never wanted to talk about mediums or seeing spirits. It scared the bejesus out of me. Literally to the point where if they were going to talk about this subject, I would leave the room. I could not even be in the room while they would discuss this. I would leave the room and they'd say, okay, Susan, we're done talking. You can come back again. This is how scared I was of this subject. So I was completely shut down. They laughed themselves silly that now I'm seeing dead people. They think this is the funniest thing in the whole world. It took me a while to open up to this. This was not natural for me. This is not something I asked for or wanted. I had to kind of make peace with this. Now, of course, I've made peace with this and it's fine. But I kept wondering, why am I so scared of this? To literally have to leave the room if the conversation turns there, that's kind of an extreme reaction. One night, I had this dream, not saying it was real or not, but I had a dream where I was a medium in the 1800s, and I was like, I don't know what they call it, a trance medium, where you open up and the spirit comes into you and can speak through you. That was the kind of medium I was. And I had a spirit who didn't want to leave and go back and give up the body.
I was going to ask if it has something to do with a past life. Okay.
So this life, I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm not doing any work for mediums or ghosts. No, like I was firm.
Once again, the past life, what could be a past life vision, I suppose, since it was a dream, but it sounds like it explains it pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
I'm jealous. I need another past life reading.
Well, if either one of you ever want me to read for you, let me know. I'd be happy to read for you, and you can experience what a reading with me is like.
So do you do readings over Zoom?
Yes, I absolutely do them by Zoom, and I record them, and I'll send the recording to my client. Sometimes during a reading, I'll just kind of trail off, and you might think about, and I'll just start looking at the ceiling or something, and I tell them I haven't lost interest in your reading, like I'm hearing your guide or something's coming through. And so I always tell them, just give me a moment, just let me get it, and then I'll share it with you.
Speaking of looking at the ceiling, when you're doing a Zoom reading, when some spirit comes through to speak to you or speak through you, do they come through on your side and your location or on theirs?
Mine.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
They come through to me.
It's not whoever's surrounding them, they come to you.
No. It's interesting you say that. They're on my side, they're surrounding me. But sometimes I'll see a guide trying to communicate with them. And they'll say, why aren't my guides communicating with me? And I'll say, they're communicating with you. You're not open to hearing them.
Yes.
I see.
And so I'll see them there with my client at their location, wherever that is, but they'll still be communicating to me because I can hear them and they can't.
Susan, you have so many stories. This is such an amazing conversation.
Love to hear anything else you want to talk about.
Well, every month on my website is exploreastrology.com. I put out free predictions for every one of the 12 signs. And you don't have to join anything. You don't have to pay anything. It is my way of giving back to the community. So if you want to know what's going on with you, I think I just updated Explore Astrology with April's predictions for all the signs. So you can go on and you can check, and it's just a way of sharing. And I'm also going to say I have a Facebook page, Susan Reynolds. And every day I go on my Facebook page and I will tell people where the moon is that day. Today the moon is in Pisces, and it may be a nice day to meditate or do some woo-woo things or do some healing because Pisces is associated with that. And again, of course, Facebook, there's no charge for that. I also send out a free monthly newsletter where I talk about the new moon and the full moon and what's going on for that month's moon energy. So if you want to be on the list and receive that, go to my website and you can sign up for that. Right now, I'm getting ready to teach a 3-month intuitive development course because so many clients say, how do you do that? I want to do what you do. And we all have some intuitive ability. And so we're getting, friends of mine and I are teaching it together. She's in Atlanta, by the way.
Oh, nice.
And so we're getting together and we're going to teach this over the course of 3 months. So the whole course would be 3 months so people can own this, use this, talk to other people about this, not like one and done and go out into the world.
Very cool. A lot of great stuff. And that's all at exploreastrology.com.
Yeah. All the stuff about the classes are on my events page. The predictions are on my predictions tab. Every month I'll put up monthly predictions.
Well, we will have links to all of that on our website at homespunhaints.com, on Susan's episode, and in the description below this episode, wherever you're receiving it. So make sure you check that out and click on that link.
Ooh, one important question. When we do the predictions, do we go by our rising sign or our sun sign?
Go by your sun sign. But I always tell people, if you know what astrologers call the big 3, look up your sun sign, look up your moon sign, look up your rising sign. But if you had to just pick one of them, pick the sun sign first.
Okay.
Well, Susan, thank you again so much for coming on and sharing everything. I've really, really enjoyed talking to you. This has been such a great conversation.
Thank you.
You have some really, really amazing stories and experiences, and you're just full of light and just an amazing soul. So thrilled that we got a chance to connect.
I tell people I have a very boring life. All I do is work and, go to the grocery store, go to book club. And then I hear myself talking to you. I think, maybe my life's not as boring as I think it is. Well, this was lovely. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you, Susan, for being on the show. And Hainted Loves, what do you think? If you were doing a normal astrology chart and suddenly the dead started talking to you, would you admit it? Or would you just have a spooky day?
Homespun Haints is hosted by Becky Kielimnik and Diana Doty, and produced by Homespun Haints Media LLC. Editing and music by Becky Kielimnik. Show notes by Diana Doty. If you have a ghost story and you'd like to be considered as a guest for this podcast, please visit our website at homespunhaints.com/submit.